So what would it be like to try and move down to this area and establish yourself with a home? Either a permanent home or a seasonal home? Great question. A guy asked me this online, so I'll answer you. I'll answer the question. First of all, excellent choice on place in Mexico. The climate here is awesome. I picked it after much research among everywhere in the entire world. Now, I didn't deeply consider a lot of areas. I ruled them out very quickly. But I picked this area because the town's the right size. It's the right distance from a town of another size, and it's interesting. And that's the right distance from a city where there's more stuff. And it's the right distance from Mexico City and Guadalajara, some really amazingly great cities. It's also on a lake here. Well, let's talk about this pragmatically. If you were going to, for example, move down here, you would and buy a house. Great investment. You probably would buy a house in town. And my suggestion would be one of two towns. That would be Eronga Recuero, which has about 3,500 people, and it's an awesome choice. Now, with any decision you make, you'd want to come down and be here for a while first. Being in the Bosque is its whole other trip and much more difficult. But there's like 3 hotels in Eronga, and so you could come down, check it out. You could even live in a hotel for a month and get to know the area. And also, if you're thinking actually about seriously moving down here, I have a form you can fill out that asks you what you really want, what some of your ideas are, and that way I can point you to better resources about what you would consider. Now, I personally don't want to live in Eronga. It's a little bit busy for me, although it's a very small town, really. And there is noise, there's parties, but then again, if you're on some parts of town, there's going to be lots less of that because you're not in the center area. So if you were going to live in Eronga, you'd have to choose how close do you want to live to the plaza. And the advantage, of course, is that it's very convenient to go to the plaza. It's really easy and great. If I was to live in Eronga, I'd want to live a little further away. The price would be cheaper, and in general, it would be a little quieter. But I wouldn't want to live in Eronga anyway. I'd love to have a house there, and I'd love to have a place to crash or do something, or maybe start a little store. It's a great real estate investment, but I would want to buy a house in Yotatiro. Now that's my nearest neighboring town here. It's only got 400 people. It has all these ties to little towns up in California. Well, I guess they're not that little. Santa Rosa, Petaluma. That's because all the guys go up and work in the wineries. So it's got this U.S. connection that's kind of cool. It's very good for the town. I love Eronga. I love Yotatiro. I love Eronga too. But in this case, we're talking about Yotatiro, this tiny town. There's not much there. You wouldn't have to have a car because there's public transport, there's taxis and combis, and having a car is a pain in the ass. But then again, most of the expats I know that live down here, they do have cars, and a lot of other people have cars, and they zip around all the time. And there's people who go to Morelli all the time. I go to Morelli every 3 years. I go to Pátzcuaro not often. In other words, I'm a homebody, and so that's another decision you'd have to make. It could be that, if you're that kind of expat that wants to be around other expats and things and speak English, you should be in Pátzcuaro maybe. Pátzcuaro is a great choice. Now, the person who was asking me this question, though, was specifically interested in building their own place off the grid, kind of like I'm doing. And he knows about construction, and that's cool. So he asked me about that. It's totally possible to build a house here. You can build a house that's out in the woods. It's considered a little odd here. There's not a lot of houses out in the woods. I would recommend being semi-close to somebody else. There's plenty of plots of land that are available. Everything is for sale with the right price. There's also people who go up to the States and work, and they don't plan to come back. So the land that they own isn't interesting to them. They'd rather have the money. So I'm very much in favor of having neighbors who have similar values that I have about things like living with less resources, not using a bunch of electricity, not maybe having outside water, but doing rain capture. So I like that quite a bit. And I might be willing to help out in some ways, some people. I want to know who they are, though. I'm not just going to help anybody. I will write, and I'll do a video like this online, and I'll give advice. But the truth is, I actually care a lot about who moves here. And I certainly wouldn't want somebody coming down here and saying that they were my friend if I didn't know them and things like that. I could make it very easy to move here and know how to get things done by comparison to not knowing anyone. If you don't speak Spanish, somebody's going to have to help you out a lot. That is just how it goes. So that's an ambitious, interesting goal that this guy has, that he's considering, coming down and constructing a home here. And he knows how to construct homes, so he might do a lot of the work himself. One great advantage here is that the labor is fairly cheap, and there are plenty of people who know how to work with concrete or adobe, which are the very common materials here. Adobe is a little softer and nicer in some ways. A concrete roof is really great for having a solar hot water heater and putting your solar panels up there. So there's a lot of issues about architecture and things like that. But as you can see, it's beautiful. I mean, there's so many days like this where I can walk around with just this t-shirt on. Geez, I've been wearing this t-shirt for a long time. It's like food on it. I'm a disgusting pig. Oh well. And so we talk about it's beautiful. Look, there are butterflies here. Oh yeah, the temperature is just great. There's rains at times, and it's just all balanced out. It's all just, you couldn't design it any better. I couldn't design a better climate, except that I would probably want rains to come 2 months earlier. That's the only flaw here. Socially, outsiders are welcome here. They're not particularly important. There's no organization I'm talking about Eronga. There's no organization of foreigners or anything. And most of the expats that have been here, a lot of them have been here for 35 years and, a long time. And, they're just part of the community. It's really kind of neat. They don't all band together. I mean, a bunch of them know each other. Most of them are not from the United States. Most of them are from Europe and other places, Argentina. Stuff like that. So my advice would be read about it, get to know it, and visit. That's the main thing. You can't really know about a place when talking about, I see all these questions online, I want to move to this place and where should I go? And it's like, it's I think easier almost to just go to a damn place and check it out rather than think too much.